So hello and welcome back to Connection to Excellence. Today my guest is Naomi Susan Eisetz. She is an international charisma consultant, speaker and coach, and she is the founder of the Institut of Charismology in Munich. She empowers people from all walks of life to live really their authentic life and give them a deep connection and deep confidence to live really their wildest dreams. So I'm really happy, Naomi, to have you here today in my show. Thank you so much that you took your time.
Pleasure to be here with you, Kornelia.
Thank you. So, and by the way, if there are people who are watching this show and doesn't know me, I'm a leadership and high performance coach. So, Naomi, let us talk about your business. You support people to live really their authentic life. And I guess that's a really important point. And I would like to know from you, why is it so important to live an authentic life?
The authentic life is the one that keeps you healthy. It's as simple as that. If you're living the life that you feel your parents wanted you to live, or your partner wants you to live, or anybody else feels is right for you, or you feel is the right thing to do in order to get status or riches, whatever it is that you're doing for other reasons than that this is who you are and what you love, it nearly always results in tensions which, if they exist for a long period of time, can seriously turn into illnesses. And at the very least, they usually result in bitterness and aggression towards the second half of a person's life. And this is actually the period that I concentrate on most. Supporting women, also men, but mostly it's women, from the middle stage of their life who are asking the question, was that it? Was that everything? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And this is, for me, why it's so very important in order to stay healthy, to stay positive and happy, and to live a life of fulfillment, knowing that you are a contribution to your community.
Great. So I know from you that you really work in first line with women and how you're told right now what they still like to do in their life. And so how does your coaching look like? Is it one-by-one coaching? Is it workshops, or how does it look like?
I offer a series of workshops, each of them concentrating on one particular aspect of charisma, charisma in the original meaning of the word, which means the gift, concentrating on the various ways that we can help to uncover your original gift that you brought with you into the world. And if anybody wants to know more about the individual workshops, they can find everything on my website. And these I do by invitation, if you invite me to your club, your group, your company, for anybody. But of course, I also do one-on-one coaching, which is very, very, very different. In this situation, we can concentrate more on very intimate things that you might not want to divulge in front of a group. Either way, we come to really deep results, you finding out exactly who you are, what you want to do, and maybe I can offer you also some alternative suggestions how you can put your talents to practice.
Great. So, and how important is intuition for this work?
I've been working with people, with singers and actors and people from everyday walks of life for the past 35 years on a freelance basis. And I think anybody that has worked with people for a long period of time develops an intuition, and gradually you learn to trust your intuition, because intuition is nothing more than an incredible collection of information that you've gathered during the course of your life. And as you can see, my life has been a pretty long one up to now. And you put it into practice. You use this information without having to think about it anymore. It's very much like riding a bicycle. At the beginning, it's quite difficult and you have to think about it. And after a while, it becomes so automatic, you never think about it again. And that's, to me, what intuition is.
Wow,
and it's very important because each time you work with somebody, even in a very large group, each person is an absolute individual and deserves to be treated as the way they are and the way they want to be treated, and not, as the Germans say, Schema F, the program that you always go through building block by building block, regardless of who's there.
Wow, thank you so much. It goes so deep. Wow, great. And you spoke right now about singers. So I know actually that you got known as a jazz singer. So how did it come to you, this change to coach people?
It wasn't actually a change at all. It was a development. Anybody that's been out there in the world of jazz as a musician, as a singer, knows that very, very rarely can anybody actually pay the bills, pay their rent with this profession. So you have to go into something additionally. And I discovered that I loved teaching. And very often what would happen, somebody would come who had maybe not a lot of voice, not a lot of idea what they wanted to do, why they wanted to sing. And it gradually became clear to me that many people don't actually want to sing because of the music. They're not particularly interested in the music. Sometimes it's a much deeper psychological thing. They want to be heard. They want to be noticed. They want to be allowed to stand in the limelight and have everybody notice them and appreciate them. And the applause that they get is not necessarily a sense of, oh, aren't I great? It's very, very often the compensation for the applause, the love, the recognition, or whatever it was that they didn't get in their childhood. So I found that teaching singing forced me to go deeper into the psychology of why people need to be recognized and what it is about them that wants to be recognized. And gradually I moved more and more into the question, why do you want to go on stage? What is it that you get from that situation that you can't get from anywhere else? And then gradually people started to come who said, I don't actually want to sing, but I've heard that when one comes to you, one can find out all different, an enormous variety of different things that you need to know about your life in order to become happy and successful.
Wow, great. So nice to listen to, So how did you come up then with the idea of founding this Institute of Charismology here in Munich?
You asked me a moment ago about intuition. I'm sure that other people can relate to this, particularly your viewers, because I'm sure that you interview a lot of people who have a lot of intuition. In your work, I'm sure you use your intuition a lot too. And I woke up one morning, it was a beautiful sunny day, and I just lay there on my bed, looking up at the ceiling, and I had, I can't call it a vision, but I saw this picture in my mind, which appeared to me. I didn't create anything, it just happened. A big blue sky, and in golden letters, the words Institute of Charismology, in the form of a rainbow, but in gold, all across the sky. And you know how it is when you're half awake, you have weird ideas, And I said, I have no idea what this is, but let's do it. And this is the kind of impulsiveness that I had as a child. It often used to get me into trouble, but later on I learned to contain it a bit. And I took this picture and said, okay, I really don't know what it is, but the more I work with it, It still is, it's a vision completing itself. It's like having bought a house without furniture. The Institute of Charismology is the house, and now we're filling it with the furniture. And the furniture is the various workshops that we will at some point be offering ourselves. At the moment, it's still growing. It just happened. All I can say, it happened. I think that's some people think I'm a bit crazy, and maybe I am, but it's fine.
Great. So, sorry. So what kind of setbacks do you know, for example, and how did you handle this?
How far back do you want to go? The first big setback in my life, and I will share this, but I won't go into it. The first big setback in my life was when my father left us when I was about 13, 14, and decided to go to Canada with his new girlfriend, in the meantime, his wife. And I experienced the type of pain that, in the meantime, I know that many people experience when a partner dies, this physical pain and you not knowing what to do with yourself. And with help from various people, obviously, I got over that, managed to integrate this experience into my life. And it has been one of the greatest riches, I would say, greatest experiences. It's what allows me to understand other people in pain, and I don't find pain embarrassing. The more modern, the setbacks which I've experienced since then, well, the first big setback was leaving my job, my job in corporate Germany to become a jazz singer, and discovering that those people that said you can't live by that were right. I somehow assumed that I was going to be able to be the one exception that can live by singing, but I wasn't. So I'm a realist. I'm a dreamer, but a realist at the same time. And if you find that things are not working, well, I just sat down and found a solution. I was lucky that in my apartment there was one room which I wasn't really using. So I sublet to a tenant. Wasn't always the best tenant. It wasn't always the happiest solution, but it meant money came in. Another thing is I like to let people know this, because a lot of people, particularly nowadays, think that happiness depends on financial riches. Financial security, yes, but not always financial. You don't have to be a millionaire to be happy. But one of the things I did for 2.5 years, I was a dumpster diver. That is, I went to the supermarkets and to the parking lot at the back where the big trash bin was, and me and so people who hadn't much, mostly pensioners, would help each other getting the stuff out of the bin. And it's amazing, and it angered me very much, how much valuable food is just thrown away simply because the date is going to run out tomorrow. It could still be put out for people, somewhere where people are allowed to take it. In the meantime, dumpster diving has become more or less illegal, which I think is terrible. But for 2.5 years, maybe 3, I lived like a king on the things that they threw away. I lived almost better than I do today in some ways, if you just judge by the food I was eating. So I'm a realist. I think I learned this from my mother. If things are going wrong, you just find a solution, even if it's not necessarily your preferred solution. But the first thing is not being a burden to others. This is my personal, it's not a motto, it's just something that I learned. I think that my mother taught me that whatever you do, being a burden to others is only the very last resort. You try to solve things yourself, find a solution, whatever it looks like.
Thank you.
It's not really a tip, is it? It's just
do you have any tip or recommendation for the people who are watching now this show?
Yes, don't despair. Talk to people. Don't be ashamed of the things that are going wrong. Talk to someone. Find someone you can trust, and make sure that it's not. Now, please forgive me, dear friends, please make sure that it's not the dear friend who will say to you, "Oh, you poor thing." People that say, "Oh, you poor thing, I do understand, oh, how awful," will keep you in that mood of how awful it is. Go to someone who you know is going to be a little bit tougher with you and a little bit like, "Okay, so I do understand. I know you're feeling terrible. Now, what are we going to do about it?" Find somebody that's going to kick your butt just a little bit and help you get active again. In times of difficulty, we very often get a kind of a depression and a feeling of being totally stuck, not being able to get up in the morning. And when you are up watching television and doing stuff to fill up the time, so you avoid facing the things that you need to face. So find a friend that you can trust to kick you in the butt a bit and get you active again and not be too sympathetic. Sympathetic, yes, but help to get you moving again. And if necessary, get a coach. You will find that many coaches are not only affordable, but are very, very happy to come to an agreement with you about how you can maybe also help them. You don't have to pay for everything in cash. If cash is the stuff that's short at the moment, find a way of bartering with somebody. You know, if I do this for you, can you do this for me? It can work. It can be very, very helpful to get your creative mind working again.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really a great tip for the people, I guess so. So are there any projects in the future from you?
There are various activities which may become projects. I've discovered the joy of storytelling. There are a couple of very nice events in Munich, monthly events in Munich, where storytellers can get up, and in some of them you can just tell a fairy tale or whatever. In one of my favorite ones, the Storytellers' Night, which happens once a month on, I believe, a Tuesday, I can't remember. You can tell any story you like in English or in German, but it has to be true. It doesn't necessarily have to be out of your own life, but it does have to be true. And I particularly like this evening, and I discovered what fun it is to tell people true stories of your life and watch it touch their lives, which is a little bit like what I was doing as a singer. If you can touch somebody's life from on the stage without having to confront them one-on-one with their own story or with your story, it's such a joy. And this may turn into a series of, I don't know, videos or an audio book or a book. I don't know. This may turn into a project, but there are several times a month that you can come and see me on stage somewhere doing something.
Thank you. And Naomi, now my last question, where can people find you?
They can find me via my website, which is charismology.com. And there is, I believe, even a phone number on there. I'm not sure whether my phone number's on there. It must be. But they can write to me, and I love calling back and talking to people. They can just find me online. That's the easiest way. They can also find me on Facebook, on Xing, on LinkedIn. But the best way is direct by my website, I think.
So thank you so much, Naomi. It was so great to listen to your wisdom. You have really a deep wisdom in you, and that touched my heart, and it was really so a pleasure to have you here on my show. Thank you so much, and I hope we both bear a contribution for the people who are watching that show.
Kornelia, thank you so much for this wonderful invitation and for your really probing questions. It's been a joy to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, and for all the people who are watching this show, I really hope deeply from my heart that we were a contribution for you. And we will see us next week again in Connection to Excellence. And for now, we both wish you a very fantastic weekend. All my love to you. Bye-bye. Till next week.